Hey Chaotic Crew, Brian here. Wanted to make one more Final Fantasy Commander deck because it was just so fun of a set. Let's just dive right into it. We're doing Rakdos, spellslinger, something you don't really typically see in the deck. We got Kuja, Genome, Sorcerer running the gambit here. Kuja is a 3/4 for 4 mana. Beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you control 4 or more wizards, transform Kuja. Kuja itself is a wizard, so you really only need a couple more to really get this going. Transformed side is a 4/6 Avatar Wizard, Trance Kuja, Fate Defied, and it has, if a wizard you control would deal damage to a opponent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So essentially, this is a burn deck. You're spell slinging and you're burning your opponents out. We could just dive right into it. I tried to add a bunch of Final Fantasy cards in here as well as some wizard shenanigans. First off, Black Waltz number 3 fits right in with the deck. Another Rakdos Commander Wizard from the Final Fantasy set, 2/2 Flying Death Touch. Whenever you cast it on creature spell, Black Waltz number 3 deals 2 damage to each opponent. So with your commander out, dealing 4 damage, and or if it's attacking, it's got to be difficult to block it. So could do a lot there. Bloodline Necromancer is a wizard that has lifelink, but that's not as important as getting a wizard out of our battlefield when it enters, so really good there. Coruscation Mage is 2 mana 2/2 with Offspring 2, makes it so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and if you Offspring it, you have 2 of them on the battlefield, so just doing tons of damage to your opponents there. Fandaniel. Don't know how to say that last part of his name, but Fandaniel is a 5 mana 4/5 Elder Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Surveil 1, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Each opponent who doesn't loses 2 life for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So we actually do have a lot of instant sorceries. We also have artifacts, and you can even go planeswalkers or battles in this deck because they're non-creature spells, right? But instant sorceries definitely probably the more straight line way to go. So we have a lot of them. So Fandaniel is going to make our opponents essentially just sack a creature every turn. And we're surveilling 1, which isn't bad as well. And if opponent wants to take extra life, sure, we're not going to say no to that. But it is not dealing damage, so this will not get doubled by our commander. But it does work with the deck. Gleeful Arsonist, 3 mana wizard for 1/2 power, but it has Undying, and it has when an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Gleeful Arsonist deals damage equal to its power to that player. So this is about our opponents casting spells, not necessarily us, but good to have on the battlefield. Harmonic Prodigy, really great as well. Going to make our wizard's ability trigger additional times, which include our commanders to make those wizards at the end step, but also going to make those wizards burn our opponents twice as much, so really strong there. Then we have Harnesser of Storms. Whenever you cast a non-creature or otter spell, you may exile the top card of your library. Until the end of turn, you may play that card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this is just essentially giving us an extra card each turn. It's a decent blocker. It's a 1/4, so and it's a wizard, so good to have on the board and good value. Judith, we have a couple shamans in here. Judith is one of them, and is pretty much the only other Rakdos Spellslinger commander, or was the de facto one until this card came out, Kuja. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, that spell gains death as your lifelink, or you can create a 2/2 red imp with when this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So we're burning our opponents out, so making those imps is really nice. Also, if we have a Blasphemous Act, giving it Death Touch and Lifelink is really nice there. We don't have too many burn spells. We're typically going to be going the token route with this card, but it's just such a good value for the deck. Hard not to include. Kefka Dancing Mad, a new card from one of the commander decks here. I think it's from the Revival Trance one. During your turn, Kefka has Indestructible. It's a 7 mana 6/6. At the beginning of your end step, exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard. You may cast any number of spells from among cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Then each player who owns a spell you cast this way loses life equal to its mana value. So what's great about Kefka is going to be most of the time exiling at least one instant or sorcery. So you're getting that. It is a wizard, but it is not dealing damage. But it is going to burn your opponents essentially. It's making them lose life. So it's a way to accelerate the game and get you a lot of extra value. Maybe you get ramp, maybe you get removal, maybe you get a board wipe, right? So something cool there to have and a really good top end for this deck. We'll also run Pinnacle Monk as just a neat way to get cards out of our, instant sorceries out of our graveyard, but also a good land if we need it. Stormkiln Artist to give us treasures when we cast instant sorceries. Storm Splitter, another wizard. And with our commander flipped over, Storm Splitter is going to be dealing double damage, so we don't need to get as many copies in the battlefield, right? So that's really good, but this is going to get out of hand quickly in a spellslinger deck. And we have Vindictive Flamestoker to, essentially draw 4 more cards if we need it, and always good to have there. Now into the sorceries. Obviously there's going to be lots of removal, some card draw, etc, etc. But first we have Light Up the Stage, which essentially, if this Final Fantasy reskin here, A Promise Fulfilled, you exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn you may play those cards, but it has Spectacle for a single red. So if your opponent's lost life this turn, you can cast this for 1 red instead. Our opponents are definitely going to be losing life in this deck, so not a problem there. Then we have Blasphemous Act, Blasphemous Edict as a couple of different board wipes. Solid there. We're going to be cheap and can potentially cast multiple spells in a turn, and then wrap up with maybe a Blasphemous Act or Blasphemous Edict to just get so much value out of our wizards that are on the battlefield and burning our opponents, and then wipe the board. Circle of Power draws us 2 cards, loses us 2 life, and you make a wizard. And then it gives wizards we control +1/+0 and lifelink until end of turn. So if we can cast this and cast some other spells, we're going to gain some life because the wizards are going to deal damage to our opponents. Consuming Vapors is really nice. Target player sacrifices a creature. We gain life equal to its toughness. Really good against Voltron decks that want to have 1 creature in the battlefield. Also, just nice to give us some life gain. Has a rebound, so we'll cast it again and then on our next upkeep. So really good there. Cornered by Black Mages is a fun card. A 3 mana sorcery. Target opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice, so similar to Consuming Vapors, but we're also making a 0/1 Black Wizard. I think, getting a wizard out for 1 or 2 mana and then having that Edict effect for 1 mana is really nice there. We have Mizzix's Mastery. We're going to have a lot of instant sorceries in our grave, so being able to make copies of all of these and cast those copies is going to trigger our wizards a lot there. Faithless Looting is good to draw 2, discard 2, flash some stuff back. Feed the Swarm. Obviously you need it in any black deck that struggles to deal with enchantments, so Rakdos definitely the colors for that. Fevered Suspicion is great. Another good top end for this deck is you get to cast potentially 3 non-land or 3 non-creature spells. So that's really good there. Into the Time Vortex is neat because it itself is a sorcery. You cascade likely into another instant sorcery or other non-creature. Then it also has Rebound the next turn, so great to have there. I put Jai-Immolating Inferno in here. We are running a few cards that give us a bunch of red mana, and if we can, pump those into this, we can deal a lot of damage to our opponent's face as well, and just potentially end the game out there. So a good game ender. Jessica's Will, it does give us a bunch of red mana, but also is going to give us some pseudo card draw, which is always great. Mana Geyser is going to give us so much red mana and let us kind of storm off in a turn. So that's good there. Mob Rule is just great. Insurrection's also solid here, just as a card to end the game, right, and make it so that our opponents take lots of damage. Night's Whisper draws us some cards. Read the Bones draws us some cards. Snort is really fun. Each player may discard their hand and draw 5 cards. We're typically going to do that, but Snort deals 5 damage to each opponent who discarded their hand this way. So this is actually really good for us because we want to burn our opponents, right? And then it also has flashback, so we can do it again later on. And it just keeps our hand refilled. Very solid there. Sorceress's Schemes also gets instant sorceries from a graveyard or exiled with flashback from our hand, and it gives us a red mana back. It also has flashback itself, so really neat there to kind of keep the chain going. Surreal Memoir is returning an instant at random from our graveyard to our hand, and it has rebound, so that's nice to help get some stuff out of our grave. Siphon Mind, each other player discards a card, you draw a card for each card discarded this way. Vandal Blast to get rid of our opponent's artifacts, and then Will the Jeskai, having us draw some cards or gonna give our instant and sorceries flashback. So really good there. As far as like instants go, we've got a good amount. Deadly Dispute, maybe we need to sacrifice one of our tokens or a treasure that we make to, you know, draw 2 cards. Bedevil is good removal. Chaos Warp is good removal. Rakdos Charm is good removal for artifacts, but also can exile graveyards and burn our opponents as well, so that's really good there. Big Score and Unexpected Windfall to draw some more cards, get us some more treasures. Then we have cards like Malakir Rebirth that keeps our commander around, right? Which is really nice there. Fell the Profane's removal. Lethal Scheme is essentially a free removal spell if we have enough wizards on board. Terminate is removal. Snuff Out is free. So if we can chain a bunch of these free spells, it's definitely nice. Seething Song is another one of those, rituals that gives us red mana. We're running Dark Ritual as well to get us some black mana. We also have Valakut Awakening to, give us some extra cards in hand if needed. It's also a land. Untell Me My Function to redirect stuff from our commander or destroy an artifact or make it so that we can just kill someone. And then Tybalt's Trickery is a fun include. I felt like no one's going to expect a counterspell in a red deck or a red-black deck, so having this is nice. Transpose is another new card from Final Fantasy. 3 mana instant, draw a card, then discard a card. You lose a life, and if it was cast from your hand, you make a 0/1 black wizard. That has that ability, and then it has rebound as well, so good there. We do have 8 artifacts, which is nice. These will also proc our wizards. So Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, Fellwarstone, Rakdos Signet, Talisman of Indulgence. It's like some ramp spells, help get our commander out a turn early maybe. Skull Clamp to draw cards, which is always really nice. Black Mage's Rod is an equipment that gives whatever creature it has that wizard ability to deal 1 damage, but it also creates a creature and equips it to it when it enters. So 2 mana for that ability is really nice. And we really like that there. Whip of Erebos gives all our creatures lifelink and return creatures from our graveyard to the battlefield. We do have some cards that make us discard, so getting some of these creatures back out is good, and we have Mystic's Mastery to handle the cards that are in our graveyard as well, the instant and sorceries that are there. So really love having this in here too. We are running 5 enchantments. Artist Talent is great. It's allowing us to discard and draw whenever we cast a non-creature spell, but it's also going to make our non-creature spells cost one less to cast, which is really important. Some of them are a bit pricey, and then the last level of the Sorcerer arc we control would deal non-combat damage to opponent or permanent opponent controls. It deals that much damage plus 2 instead, so very strong there to have in this deck. I have Nidhogg, Parasitic Impetus, and Shiny Impetus are ways to goad our opponent's creatures and deal lots of damage to them. There's also that other one, the other black Impetus you could put in here too. I have Nidhogg is neat because it's typically going to get in. It has flying, so right, your opponents are probably going to attack your other opponents that can get in on. Which is really nice. So it's going to deal 4 damage to an opponent each turn. Parasitic Impetus is making someone lose 2 life and we're gaining 2 life. Shiny Impetus is giving us treasure. So we like the abilities that these have more so. And it's definitely good. The other one I think just lets us surveil, which is nice too, but not amazing. They also work so well in combat metas to keep your opponents like key creatures from killing you and focus more on your opponent. So really, really solid there as like cards to have in the deck. Non-creatures that will proc our wizards, and also keep your opponents from hitting you. So really good there. And then lands, there's nothing too crazy I added here. I just quickly put together some stuff. 12 mountains, 9 swamps. You can remove some for like, the scavenger grounds or Bajuka Bog, stuff like that to deal with your opponent's graveyard, the Ghost Quarter to deal with your opponent's land. So I just added that quickly here, but let's go ahead and get a playtest going. Zero lander, so we're gonna mulligan that one. This one's better. We've got a few different lands here. I do want to shout out Midgar. You can see the left side of the land here, but I did add both of the red and the black adventure lands from Final Fantasy, and this is great. They're just sorceries, and then you can play them as a land if you get the mana for it. But since we drew this in our opening hand, we're definitely going to be playing this one first. So draw for turn, we did get a command tower. Okay, play Midgar, tapped, and then we go to turn 2. We'll play a mountain, and then we can play Skull Clamp, which is always nice. You don't always want to play everything you have, just because, right, you want to save it for when you have the wizards out. But it's also not a bad idea just to get it out if you can, because we are going to be casting other spells, right? We want to get stuff out of our hand for Snort to refill us, and that's good there. So this, if our opponent had something, we could Shiny Impetus, and in fact, you know, depending on the decks your opponents are playing, they may have a deck already that's already like online. So Shiny Impetus can be really good here in this turn 3. Otherwise, you may just want to wait back and wait a couple turns. But honestly, I'd rather play the Into the Time Vortex the turn after I play Kuja. So if I can, I'm gonna Shiny Impetus on some creature, even if it's like you know, if it's not a mana dork, right? You don't want to Shiny Impetus mana dorks, but getting this on any creature on the battlefield is going to help because it's going to give you treasures. So next turn, play the command tower. We have a treasure. We're just going to cast our commander. And under end step, we are going to add a wizard. Enters tapped. So then we will go to, and I'll move this Skull Clamp. We have the extra mana. We could potentially Skull Clamp if we wanted to, but we don't really want to right now. Next turn, we get a swamp, so we'll play that. We have 7 mana open. We have both Blast Act and Blast Edict, so not ideal. We, into the Time Vortex, deal 1 damage, cascade into Rakdos Signet, deal 1 damage, and this is going to be exiled there. So now we have 3 mana we can use, so if we wanted to Blast Edict or Blast Act, we could. Probably not the best idea. I mean, we could rebuild pretty quickly, but it's still, if we were planning on doing Blast Edict, we might wanted to have held off on our commander and just played it this turn, right? So that's something to think about. But yeah, let's try another game where we have Snort to draw a new hand, so we could discard both of these, and we have ways to get them back out and cast them again. So not the biggest deal. So let's see what the next 5 cards we would draw were. Okay, we would have Harmonic Prodigy, which would trigger our commander and all these wizards an extra time. Pinnacle Monk to get, you know, one of these out. We have Snort in our graveyard to recast again if we need to. So yeah, I mean, we are in a good spot. Let's try another game here. 1 land with a ramp spell. Let's go ahead and mulligan. Okay, much better. 4 mana to work with here, and Artist Talent to start leveling up early on is super good. So draw a card. It is another Skull Clamp game, interestingly enough, so we'll go ahead and play it. And then next turn, Shadowblood Ridge. Let's go ahead and play this, and then play Artist Talent. When it enters, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can draw and discard, or excuse me, discard then draw. We don't care about that. We care about the second ability and the third ability the most. So next turn, we can play a swamp, level this up to level 2, so our non-creatures now cost 1 less to cast. And then we can mountain, Arcane Signet, because it costs 1 less, and then play our commander, which is really nice. We could have also saved the Arcane Signet. Someone could have removed this Artist Talent because they know it's dangerous in this deck, right? So we want to get it out as early as possible, but you could also make the argument, save it until we get the wizard at the end step, right? And then next turn you could play a non-creature spell, deal damage and whatnot. So yeah, that's good to know there. So we have 1 token. We drew another land, so Dragon Skull Summit. So this is where we Jessica's Will. Let's say we're going to get 5 mana, you know. Well, we got some good hits. Malakir Rebirth isn't bad. A mountain. Too bad we played a land already this turn. But 5 mana, we have enough to cast the Fever Suspicion as well. If we were all getting 4 mana, we just barely wouldn't, which would be unfortunate. But we're taking a damage here, or we're dealing a damage there. Oh, sorry, this only costs 2. I forgot. It only costs 2, which means this only costs 7. So we're actually rolling in it right now. This artist talent, putting in so much work. So 2 for the Jessicas. Let's say we got 5 mana. Right, and then we tap 2 more for Fever Suspicion. Get a bunch of more potential stuff. Deal another deal 2 or 3 more damage, right? And get whatever we get off of Fever Suspicion. This has rebounds; it will come back next turn. So we're in a really great spot. We can also Mystic's Mastery next turn too, and get both of these cards back out for free. So, really strong position here in this deck and doing a lot of damage. We can also, you know, double the damage that we deal next turn. So that could be really strong as well. So lots of options here, and this deck is super strong. If you're building it, let me know what you'd put in, what you'd take out. And if you're excited for Edge of Eternities, let us know in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next pre-con upgrades that we do. And otherwise, I'll be back next week. But take care. Bye.